For many years, I have been known as a firebrand politician. People say that even though I walked through the valley of death, I fear no evil. I stood up for what I believe in. I never cringed. I never faltered. It was the whim in me that stirred my passion, that stirred my patriotism. But I have been a member of Parliament for 18 years, 7 of which I served as a Minister of Government. I may have mellowed now, and very rarely do you ever see me reading a speech, but I believe that tonight the message is more important than a messenger. I want this message to be straight, to be accurate, and I don't want to be misquoted or misinterpreted. These years that I have been in politics, power has not corrupted me. I walked away from power. I resigned twice as a minister of the government. Perhaps very few persons would ever become a minister and they would want to resign once. I resigned twice. I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to finish my education. I wanted to be intelligent in what I do, even as a minister. I wanted to know that when I say something as a lawyer, I say something after I've rationalized it, thought about it. I do not want people to tell me that I needed Pampers in my mouth. So I went back to school. In these years of my public life, I have never asked for, and I have never been given, nor have I received an inch of state land. I have never asked for, and I have never been given, nor have I ever lived in a state-provided house. I lived in my own house, built many years before I went into government. As a journalist, Chedi Jagan nominated me twice for national awards. I declined the nominations, and I said to Dr. Jagan and to the leadership of the PPP that when my public life is over, then I shall think whether or not I deserve to be honored by my nation. I have never thought of selling my country's land and my country's forests or my country's mineral for honorary doctorate degrees, or to be called a champion. I was the first minister who refused to accept increase in my salary unless, as I said to the cabinet, the government could pay more to nurses and teachers. I have never, as a minister, stayed at a hotel, 5-star, 3-star, 4-star, any hotel at the expense of the government of Guyana. I have never traveled first class in an aeroplane while I was a minister, because the money that we take, at one time one minister wanted to travel first class to Malaysia And when we calculated the additional cost, it was the cost that it would have taken to provide water from the public road in Whim Dam almost to Angoya Turn. And I told the minister, because I chaired the cabinet for most of the time, Chedi Jagan was the president. I told the minister that it was unconscionable for him to think about his long legs and not think about the people who do not have water in the village. That is my record. Apart from donating the salary I worked as an international journalist to Freedom House, I live on the minimum of what other workers worked for while I was with the PPP. And any extra earnings from the many agencies and newspapers I wrote for abroad, I would hand it over to make up the salary of my other colleagues. So my friends, they attack me since I have left the PPP. And they say, with the real Moses, they give me all kinds of motives for doing so. And they ask that the real Moses should step forward. So here I am tonight, stepping forward in my own village. I cannot fool you, since you know me all my life. From a little boy selling fish to who I am today. I stand here as a son, as a father, as a grandfather, and more importantly, a husband and a Whim man. These are my qualifications as I run for office as Guyana's next Prime Minister. The PPP has put up their own candidate to become the Prime Minister. And you know, should something happen to the Prime Minister, to the President, the Prime Minister assumes the office of President. So if you look at what has happened, the PPP has put up a candidate to be the Prime Minister who possibly could become the next President of Guyana. Her name is Elizabeth Harper. Well, do you know me? I told you, do you know me? I ask you now the question. Do you know who is Elizabeth Harper? Now they're keeping a soca session in Kitty, and they're well tuned here. So I'll ask you that question again. Do you know Elizabeth Harper? Do you want Elizabeth Harper as your next Prime Minister? I can't hear you. Well, this Harper lady says she wants to be Prime Minister because she was a victim of domestic violence. And I can tell you that we squarely condemn domestic violence. No one, no woman ought to be the victim of domestic violence. But tell me this, if she was so concerned about domestic violence, why is she tonight on the same platform with Barajadeo? I can tell you this. My wife is here, Sita. I have been married for 44 years to the same woman, and probably could marry her all over again. No one, not even she, would say that I have lifted a finger at her at any time. I never did, and I never will. But Mrs. Harper, your next Prime Minister sits on the same stage with Jagdeo, and she wants to fight against domestic violence. Now, Moses Nagamutu has tonight stepped forward. And I want to ask publicly for the real president of Guyana to step forward. That president, by the way, is not Donald Ramotar. He's, yeah, you know, Sashmo has this song, Everybody Knows. Everybody knows he's the guy who cuts the ribbon. He shakes hands and he kisses babies. He's the guy who makes all the nice excuses for the widespread corruption in Guyana, for the failed projects, and for the many broken promises. He's only the guy who travels around in a private jet plane whose seat is made of contraband US dollars. He's only the guy who says all the silly things, like we cannot have local government elections because he believed that no elections are better than rigged elections. And for 7 years, he wouldn't hold local government elections. Ramotar is the guy who says all the silly things, like Courtney Crummy Wing, a patriot who was slaughtered. He went and said that Courtney was a nuisance for holding a bullhorn and for calling on citizens to vote a democratic right. And he painted Courtney as a criminal. How silly could this fella be? He's the one that tells you that you cannot fight corruption by having a public procurement commission, and you cannot stop your ministers from thieving by putting in place a fully composed integrity commission. Ramotar gets the blame for all the failures, including the failure of the sugar industry, and for trying to ban GAU, for rice farmers not receiving the price they deserve for their paddy. He gets the blame for the bandits who attack innocent people every day and every night, for fishermen losing their boats and their catch and their lives, for Berbice getting blackout every other night. Strange we didn't have the blackout tonight. And for young people not getting jobs. Ramotar wasted 3 years in office. But like chikungunya, they believe that you must have it not once, but you must have it twice. Do you need chikungunya Ramotar again? This do-nothing, know-nothing president is overshadowed by a fake, a counterfeit. In the eyes of the PPP, they allow this fake to spend $65 billion on a single factory and on the sugar industry, telling us he would fix it. And Mr. Fix-It has left office and left the industry broken and left the sugar workers in a state of uncertainty. He is the fake who pretends and masquerades to be president of Guyana. And he was taking the war to us, and he wants to kick our asses because he thinks that he is more powerful than the president. And maybe he is, because the president is what he is. So, my friends, you have to be a fake president, not responsible for what you do. If when you have diarrhea, you fly out on a private jet to Florida, while people here can't have Panadol when they experience chikungunya. And so the story goes that the fake president started a hotel that they named Marriott, the Marriott Hotel, spending $12 billion of your money on a casino and a hotel, when pensioners are told that they cannot have more than $12,500 per month, when workers are told that they must be content with 5% wage increases, when single mothers cannot afford to send their children to school because they don't have money for transportation. But it is all right for the fake president to tell you that Minister of Finance Ashley Singh has not stolen $4.5 billion in defiance of a ruling by the Chief Justice. And so, my friends, we have come now to the slogans, the poster that you saw just now, that only someone who is a fake, a pretender, a downright hypocrite will try to compare himself with the dear beloved leader Cheddi Jagan, and trying to wash his sins and act of commission and omission on Cheddi Jagan by equating his palaces to the humble home of Jagan. It is only a hypocrite and a real ingratiate who would find fault with Jagan. And that is why I say every time he opens his mouth, we feel that we should build a toilet paper factory inside it. You gotta learn to shut up. But he will not shut up, because you will have to pay $180,000 US per year to give him a pension. When in India, with 1 billion people, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is working for a salary of 31,000 US. And the President of China, where you have 1.2 billion people, he's working for a salary of 22,000 US per year. This fake wants 180,000 US dollar per year. So we have to carry him. Unfortunately, it is this nation that will have to fetch him like a goatee. How sad. We say here today that when the new government is formed on May 12th, we will cut out the waste. We will cut out the extravagance. We'll cut out